When you hear about intrepid explorers sailing across the ocean in search of new lands, you might think of Christopher Columbus, famed for reaching the Americas in 1492. But what if I told you that the Vikings had established settlements in North America nearly 500 years before Columbus arrived? That's right. These fierce warriors and traders had a knack for exploration, and their voyages took them much farther than most people realize. Join me as we uncover the secrets of the Vikings' North American adventures and learn about their remarkable journey across the vast ocean. But before we set sail on this incredible journey, allow me to introduce myself. I am your host, and my goal is to ignite your curiosity about the world around us. Together, we will embark on a series of captivating adventures that will take us through time and across the globe. But I need your help to make this journey possible. All you have to do is hit that like button and subscribe, so you won't miss any of our exciting explorations. With your support, we can continue to bring you amazing content. Now let's turn our attention back to the Vikings and their daring expeditions. The Vikings were known for their fierce reputation as warriors, but they were also skilled sailors and traders. In fact, they were some of the most experienced seafarers of their time. Their long ships were fast and maneuverable, allowing them to travel vast distances across the North Sea, the Baltic Sea, and even beyond. During their travels, they established trading posts and settlements throughout Europe and beyond. Their goods included valuable items such as furs, timber, ivory, and slaves. In addition to their trading activities, the Vikings also engaged in acts of piracy and raiding. They targeted monasteries and coastal towns, stealing valuable goods, and sometimes even enslaving the inhabitants. This fearsome reputation preceded them and struck terror into the hearts of their enemies. As the Viking Age progressed, however, the Vikings became increasingly involved in international trade. They formed alliances with other European powers and even participated in the Crusades. Despite their reputation as ferocious warriors, the Vikings were also known for their love of exploration and adventure. They were fascinated by the idea of discovering new lands and were eager to explore the unknown. This spirit of adventure led them to venture far beyond their homeland in search of new territories to conquer and new riches to plunder. One of the most famous Viking explorers was Eric the Red, who was banished from Iceland for murder, then went on to discover and settle the island of Greenland. Eric's son Leif Erikson was also an accomplished explorer. He is credited with discovering the island of Newfoundland in Canada, which he named Vinland. According to the Icelandic sagas, Leif and his crew reached the shores of Newfoundland after sailing west from Greenland. They explored the area and even established a settlement for a short time. However, conflicts with the local indigenous people eventually forced them to abandon their settlement and return to Greenland. Although the Vikings' exploration of North America is often overlooked in history books, it was a significant event that had far-reaching implications. The Vikings were the first Europeans to set foot on the continent, and their contact with the indigenous peoples had a profound impact on both cultures. Unfortunately, much of what we know about the Vikings' North American adventures comes from sagas, which are often considered unreliable historical sources. The sagas are a collection of Old Norse poems and prose that were written down several centuries after the events they describe. They contain a lot of mythology and folklore, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. Despite these challenges, historians have been able to piece together a general account of the Vikings' North American travels by cross-referencing the sagas with archaeological evidence. One of the main sources of information about the Vikings' North American journeys is the Saga of the Greenlanders, also known as the Saga of Eric the Red. This saga tells the story of Eric's discovery of Greenland and his son Leif's discovery of Vinland. It also provides details about the culture and geography of the lands the Vikings explored. Another important source is the Orkneyinga Saga, which tells the story of the Norwegian kings from the reign of Harald Fairhair to the death of King Olaf Kyrre. This saga contains information about the Viking exploration of the Faroe Islands and the Isle of Man. Historians have also examined the Kongsgårdsological record to gain a better understanding of the Vikings' North American travels. Several archaeological sites in Newfoundland, Canada, provide evidence of the Vikings' presence in North America. The most well-known site is Lonso Meadows, which contains the remains of Viking houses, tools, and other artifacts. These artifacts provide concrete evidence that the Vikings had established a settlement in North America. The Vikings' decision to explore and settle in North America was driven by a variety of factors. One of the main motivations was the desire for new lands to conquer and new riches to plunder. The Vikings were a warlike people who enjoyed the thrill of battle and the spoils of victory. They also had a strong tradition of exploration and adventure, which led them to venture into the unknown. The lure of the unknown likely played a role in the Vikings' decision to explore North America. They were curious about the lands beyond their own, and eager to discover what lay over the horizon. The Vikings were also motivated by economic factors. They were interested in expanding their trade networks and finding new sources of wealth. The possibility of finding valuable resources such as timber, fish, and fur in North America likely appealed to the Vikings. Despite the Vikings' many accomplishments, their exploration of North America ultimately came to an end. There are several theories as to why the Vikings abandoned their settlements in North America. One theory is that the harsh weather conditions of the region made it difficult for the Vikings to survive. The winters were long and cold, and the summers were short and unpredictable. Another theory is that the Vikings were not able to establish lasting peace with the indigenous peoples of the region. The sagas tell of violent clashes between the Vikings and the native population, which may have made it impossible for the Vikings to maintain a permanent presence in North America. Finally, the Vikings' decision to abandon their North American settlements may have been influenced by events in Europe. As the Viking Age drew to a close, the Vikings faced increasing pressure from Christian missionaries and the growing power of the Holy Roman Empire. These pressures may have made it more difficult for the Vikings to maintain their settlements in North America. The legacy of the Vikings' North American travels has endured for centuries. Although their settlements were short-lived, their impact on the region was significant. The Vikings were the first Europeans to set foot on the continent, and their contact with the indigenous peoples had a profound impact on both cultures. Despite the challenges of separating fact from fiction in the sagas, historians have been able to piece together a fascinating account of the Vikings' North American journeys. Through the study of the sagas, archaeology, and other historical sources, we have learned about the bravery, curiosity, and resilience of these remarkable explorers. Their willingness to venture into the unknown and their ability to adapt to new environments are qualities that we can all admire. The Vikings' North American travels are a testament to the human spirit of exploration and adventure. They remind us that there is always more to discover and that the world is full of wonders. As we conclude our exploration of the Vikings' North American travels, I hope you have been inspired by the courage, curiosity, and resilience of these remarkable people. Their journeys across the vast ocean to the shores of North America were a feat of navigation and endurance. And their interactions with the indigenous peoples of the region offer a fascinating glimpse into the cultural exchanges that occurred during this time period. While the Viking settlements in North America were short-lived, their legacy has endured for centuries. They left behind a rich tapestry of myths, legends, and historical records that continue to captivate our imaginations today. If you enjoyed learning about the Vikings' North American travels, I encourage you to dive deeper into this fascinating topic. Explore the sagas and other historical sources to get a first-hand account of their adventures. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting explorations. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious. And remember, history is full of hidden stories waiting to be discovered.